Thank you, Lauren, and thank you to Congressman Bishop for putting this legislation together that I wholeheartedly support. I think it's important legislation. You know, 10, 12 years ago when I was working on a book, I had to write a chapter on critical race theory, and I spent extensive amount of time researching and writing that chapter. And I submit the book to the agent, and the agent said to me, this is why you don't need to look it up, because it was never published, because the agent said, this is very interesting, no one will buy your book. And so I think that might have been true. But I couldn't have imagined 10 or 12 years ago when I was working on that particular chapter that we would come to a point where I'd be standing in front of the United States Capitol because critical race theory had spread beyond the microcosm of that I was studying to be ubiquitous in our culture, whether it's our Navy, our armed forces, or our schools. It's ubiquitous today. I was thinking about Eldridge Cleaver, one of the original founders of the Black Panther movement. And I met Eldridge Cleaver and got to hear him speak a number of times after he came back to the United States. He was in exile for a long period of time because they believed in critical race theory. He killed somebody, he was wanted, he fled the country and moved to those nations that ostensibly were Marxist in character. Indeed, they were Marxist in character. But what he found there was inequitable treatment. He found prejudice. He found hatred. And it was a miserable life. And he said, I would rather spend the rest of my days in the United States prison than in a Marxist society. Critical race theory is based on the Marxist manifesto that there will be eternal class warfare based on economy. That didn't work out so well because when you got to free markets, we saw massive growth in a middle class. People from all races could succeed and gain economic parity. It was remarkable. Then we saw this movement. Think post-Frankfurt School. Think actually before that. Think of Habermas. Think of critical theory. And you saw this movement to replace economic Marxism with cultural Marxism. That's exactly what you have presented in critical race theory. It's presented as some kind of great equalizing philosophy, but it is anything but. What it is, it's meant to bring and foment dissent, confusion, chaos, and ultimately control into a nationalized central government. That is critical race theory. Well, I am grateful for Dan Bishop's leadership on this. This is something we have to fight because it is in your schools, ladies and gentlemen of America. You've been paying attention elsewhere, while those who would advance this pernicious philosophy have been gaining ground so they might indoctrinate your children. I am pleased to stand here, our good friend Russ Vought, working outside of Congress, Dan Bishop and my colleagues behind me and others who have signed on. We'll continue to fight this very devolutionary, reactionary philosophy, critical race theory. Thank you.